This is a quick presentation to give you an idea of the capabilities of Interact's talent management. What we'll do is we're going to log in and go to the employer level, which is the administrator level basically for HR administrators. And you'll notice here that there are two ways to navigate through our menus. One is the standard, which is our original menu interface where we scroll through menus. And here you will notice all the talent management related menus. The other one is if we use our menu search capabilities or task-based menu, and that will enable you to just enter the specific thing that you're looking for and the system will offer it to you. Let's say I want to do a competency evaluation. I don't need to type everything for that. I can go straight here and go to the employee competencies evaluation, and it'll take me where I need to be. And I can start a new one right here on the spot. Now, alternatively, if I wanted to get to a performance plan of an employee, then I can find it like this. Obviously, everything in our system is going to be driven through self-service, but from the HR department's point of view, the talent management team, for example, needs to have access to all the information, obviously, of all the employees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch real quick to show you the context of the different menus, and then give you a quick understanding of what the system can do for you. And we'll start off right here, and we'll take a look at the different talent management related menus. You'll find out, first of all, we have competency management. This is where we define the competency framework. We will define competency tiers. We will do a competency analysis or a job analysis, and based on that you can then conduct competency evaluations. These can be done on their own right here, or they can be linked to a performance appraisal, because our performance appraisals are linked with competencies also. The competency framework and competency management doesn't stand on its own, obviously. It's going to be integrated with our career planning, with our succession planning, with our training management, because all the training courses are going to be associated with competencies. And we have a manner to evaluate trainings themselves also. So there's a training evaluation module. There's the performance management module, which I mentioned is integrated with competency management, because our performance plans can include competencies, and you also have a progress reporting, which is a separate module that allows me to report progress as an employee on any project, any activity that I'm involved in. Now, we're going to ignore that for now. We're going to go back to the competency management. I'll give you an example and just explain that our system has the ability to define any number of competency tiers. Here, for example, I've got 6 tiers, which is personal effectiveness competencies, academic competencies, workplace industry-wide competencies, occupation-specific and management competencies, but you can define these as you like. There's really no limit to that. Now, each competency tier has a set of competencies associated with them, and here's an example of such a list of competencies, and I'll take one off the list right here. And this tells me this particular competency called interpersonal skills. It will determine how I can develop that. Is it associated with a specific occupation? Is it which tier does it belong to? What are the different behavioral indicators of this competency at the different competency levels? We have competency proficiency levels, which I have chosen, and they're somewhere else in my setup, and then I can determine for each one what are the behavioral indicators. What is the distinguishing value? How urgent do you need this typically, and how important is it? And you can add additional remarks and determine how this will be measured. I can also determine which training courses we have available to help me develop this competency and at which level. You see that these columns obviously are flexible. It all depends on the content that we're trying to track, and it can go to the extreme in the sense that we can have a specific education degree that may lead you to obtain this competency. So then we'll have a list of degrees included here that you can associate with this. Okay. Now, So what we do is first we build this competency framework, then we can go and perform competency evaluations. I'll show you one example right here that's been done for one of my employees, and that employee is Barbara. Now here it lists for me all the competencies that are associated with this job that she's in. She's a training officer, and for her job these are the competencies which we've determined she needs to have, and here's the scoring that we have assigned to her. There's some comments even here. There is the level and the determination that she may need some coaching on some of these items. So you can track as much information as you want here. What is important to understand is that Interact is a very generic system, and it really is designed to support different models and different needs of different clients, especially enterprise clients. So what we need to know when we configure the system for you is what is your competency framework, how many tiers do you have, how many levels, proficiency levels do you use, and which are the specific competencies. Are they tied to occupations or are they tied to the job level? And do you even use, for example, the Hey job evaluation method? Is there any link between the two? All those things can be set up in the system, and then we can determine what columns do we need when we do the evaluation here, because you may say we don't need all this information. That's fine. We can eliminate that, or we can present it to you as you require. We can link these particular competencies with particular training. For example, here you see some training courses that are available for the communication competency. So I can go and add that in here and then make that a requirement for this person to further develop their competency. There's a lot of things that we can do very quickly. Now, as I mentioned, the competencies are tied into your performance management. So if I were to go and log in as Barbara right now, this is my employee self-service for one of my employees, which is Barbara. She's also a supervisor. Among her tasks is that she can go and create her own performance plan, and she can also have performance plan tasks. Now I'm going to go and create a new performance plan for Barbara. I'm logged in as Barbara, and I'm going to work obviously on her behalf right now. Let's say this is the 2017 plan. You notice that right now there's no tabs open here. I have this set to a US date format. As you can see, it's set to December 31 is the end of the year. The format of dates and lots of other things are driven by the settings in our system, so you can have an international deployment where date formats, currency, settings, and so on are different in different regions. There's no problem with that in our system. So what you see now, the system has generated two new tabs. One is for performance goals, the other one is for competencies. And now this lists for me the competencies that are associated with the job of training officer. And this is what this employee is going to be evaluated on by her supervisor, and on which we also want a input from herself. In each case, I have the behavioral indicators associated with this particular competency, and I also have the goals, the standard goals that we expect her to contribute to. And in my case, I have created an example where the company has a standard format that includes three goal groups. One is company goals, the second one is department goals, and the third one is personal goals. And for each one, the system provides a preset list of goals, which you need to then complete by determining what are the key activities you're going to do to achieve that goal, and what will be the target to achieve, and by when you are going to achieve that. Like this, you will go and put together your performance plan, and your competencies will be reviewed also. And based on that, you go and submit your plan, and this will go to your supervisor for approval. Once it's approved, you're going to be able to go do appraisals based on that. Now I'm going to show you that all of these things can be exported to Excel, PDF, or Word, and I'm going to do a quick export right here in Excel. You notice there are two people involved. We can do 360-degree reviews. I have Patty and Michelle that will be doing a performance appraisal for this person. So here is my plan Of course, you have seen that I did not fill in yet any key activities or any other information, but this could have been done on the spot. And that's how these things are connected. Now let's take a look at the other items in the system. I'm going to go back to my search-based menu. So let me just show you quickly my training courses. For example, I have fixed asset accounting for profit maximization. These training courses can contain a little syllabus summary, or it can have a video if you wanted to. And I will find a, I'll just show you the preview. It's obviously just an example, and you'll be able to play your video right here. Now, I have a lot of detail that I can track. I can track professional education credits, CEU, CME, CPE, whatever it is that you're tracking in your industry. I can track the training hours, the training days, and the average cost per training. I can track prerequisites and co-requisites, and then we can link these training courses to specific job titles, to specific competencies, to specific skills, institutes that provide the training, instructors, and a training schedule, and associated also with employee groups or employees, and track a budget on this. So what that means is that we can track and manage the training budget. We can make sure that we know that the right people are taking this training, and make sure that this is available for employees to add it to their training plan. Let me just show you another aspect of the performance management. And we'll take a look at the setup area, because everything in our system is highly configurable. So I'll show you briefly where it is that we can define the behavior of the performance management system here, and how the users will be using it. You notice that I have indicated that we want to use the planned approach, which means that the system will require a performance plan in this case. And I can have goals and competencies, or I could have other elements included in my performance plan. You saw only 2 tabs earlier that were added, but there could have been more. Each one of them will have its own weight when we go and calculate the final score and the weighted score for some appraisal. You notice that there is appraisal workflow. There are rating variables that we can set up. We can have engagement plans, which is different from a standard performance plan. An engagement plan would be, for example, consultants that are working with clients, or project managers that have different projects, and for each project they have an engagement plan, and so on. So those are separate metrics that you may be measuring for particular entities, separate from what the employee is doing as a general job in the company. I also have a measurement standard which can be modified at the individual goal level, but here you can see the standard rating 1 to 5 and the caption that we want to use for that. And we also have the ability to set up different rules at the employee group level. We have the ability to modify the fields or eliminate certain fields that you don't want to use. You can modify the labels that we use in the performance appraisal form, and so on. Everything is pretty flexible. Okay, so let's take a look at a appraisal real quick. So we'll go and look at performance appraisals, and then we'll take a look at career planning and succession planning and how these things all tie together. So an employee performance appraisal typically would go through a self-appraisal done by the employee and then the supervisor who gets involved in that. I'm going to just show you an example right here of one that's in progress for Jackie Johnson. Okay, so here you see that Jackie was supposed to assist with fundraising for community events. She was going to raise funds for 2 events by this date, and she says she funded 3 events, so she's giving herself a 5 out of 5, which is exceptional performance. The counselor or supervisor would have entered something. Now this term is a generic term that we can modify, or that you can modify as a user, but here I can go in and say I think it's a 4 on this. Still, you did great. Like this, the supervisor can provide comments on every point, both on the goals as well as the competencies. And there are 2 ways of entering this data. What I'm showing you here is the grid entry, which means you're working in the grid itself. It's almost like a spreadsheet. Alternatively, you can have, as an example here for competencies, you can have a pop-up, as we call it, in which case more detail comes up here and you can modify things right here. And you will see all the information will flow into the system this way too. Now, that's the performance appraisal form. So all of this can be pushed into Excel in different formats. The layout of this can be modified if need be. Here you see the comment that was just added by the counselor. And let's take a look at career plans also. Career plans allow you to create different activities, goals, and objectives that employees need to achieve during a 6-year period. You can go up to 6 years. Anything beyond that is probably a bit too optimistic. Career plans can be created for different objectives. They can be to build competencies, to get certified, or to prepare the employee for succession, in which case it links to our succession planning system, and you can define what exactly we are trying to prepare the employee for. Here you will see that the employee can have multiple goals, and for each one of those goals I will have a set of objectives. If I go and look at my objectives, this is my objective skills development, and there are a set of activities normally that I can choose from which have been assigned for me. Okay, so we will be able to track the plant start date, the plant completion date, the actual start date and actual completion date, and the percentage achieved. All this information can come from supervisors who can provide this kind of feedback through the self-service. Obviously, HR and talent management departments do not need to get involved in this. This will be between employee and supervisor. Each one of them can access this information through self-service, can put together their goals, their objectives, and their activities, and the supervisor can monitor this stuff and can assign different activities during the year if need be, to keep things moving along the required track. Now let me show you another item, which is succession planning right here. Succession planning usually works with a succession request, and that succession request can be initiated by a supervisor or by somebody in HR, and that request will contain the list of the reason, first of all, for the succession request, whether this person is being this person here, Michelle, is being replaced. Is she leaving the company, or is she being promoted? Is that the reason why we need to have other people in place for her? Or is it just a critical position for which we must have a succession plan? Then there's a list of recommended employees which can be chosen by the person who makes that request, and this will be reviewed and added to by various people. And once we have gotten the short list of potential successors to that particular person, then we can create a clear succession plan. Here we have one for Michelle, the same person. So what happens here is that we now have a complete integration between career planning, succession planning, and competency management, because we can now go and turn one of these, for any one of these shortlisted candidates who are in line to potentially replace Michelle, who is a system analyst, any one of these three, we can go and create a further career plan or a competency evaluation, because obviously if these are shortlisted candidates, then we want to have a more detailed evaluation on them. So now once the succession plan is approved, then you can go and assign the succession job to one of these employees. You don't have to do any major work. The system will know exactly how to process this and to offer the job to an existing employee from that shortlist. So the career planning and competency management are integrated so that you can first define the competencies that employees need to have, then you can evaluate them on their competencies. One more thing that you can do is you can match employees to jobs. If you have a large organization and, for example, you're looking for another training officer, The system will provide you with the potential competencies that are required, and then it will help you find those people that match those competencies so that you can find a good one, a good replacement quickly. For example, another option here would be to go with accountant. It'll give me a different set of competencies, and again I can search based on that, or I can eliminate some of these and say give me the best person that will match these competencies. It's going to give me different people, and I can choose now and see if any one of these have a good combination of skills and competencies that we may be able to do some additional work with them, and we can shortlist them to put them in a new position. Now that means I will save them to the Competency Workbench. The same thing will happen if we do a best fit analysis. That best fit analysis will allow me to basically create my own list of specific competencies that I'm looking for, and then allow me to search and find people that, based on their scores and evaluations that we've done, have the best score on these particular competencies and the urgency that we've identified for each one of them. I have not gone through the detail here right now, but you notice that we can say this is required urgently, this is very important, and so on. And we'll get the best people, and those will be saved again to our workbench. And then to round off this discussion, we'll show you the Competency Workbench right here. That will give me the people which have been identified and shortlisted as being useful either from the best fit or from the match job analysis that we've done, and allows me to then further go and evaluate them, create further training plans or career plans for our employees. And on the training side, I do need to show you a couple of other items still to make sure that that's clear what is available there. Training has training schedules, training registration, training history. Each employee can create their own training plan where they just drag and drop employee training courses onto their plan and define when they want to take that training. They can also submit uncatalogued training requests, meaning that the training does not exist in your current curriculum, but they have seen or heard something about this training and they would like to take it and need approval for it. You will also be able to track training attendance, and you will have an assessment done, just like the evaluations that we've talked about before, that can be done on any training. I'll show you one example of an employee training evaluation. Here's a basic training evaluation. There's only one set of items on the list here right now, but we could have had as many items as we want. It could be multiple choice, could be a score, and these are the criteria that we're evaluating on. But you could have this as detailed as you want, and therefore you will have very firm data on all the training that is conducted, not only on the course content, but on the trainers and the trainees and the location and any other element that you want to evaluate training on. In the end, that's the beauty of Interact HRMS, and as you can tell, training management, competency management, performance management, succession planning and career planning are all integrated, just like they are with progress reporting and training evaluation. All these modules are seamlessly integrated and will allow you to manage one single system through one interface. And of course, everything is driven by workflow, reports, and alerts as one single solution.